as more people work, and we're seeing that happening in more places than New York, unfortunately, as more and more people are getting back to work, that's more money coming into the Social Security system, more money coming into Medicare, because those are automatic payroll deductions. And as you see a growth in the economy, as people 401ks are growing because people own, yes, these horrible corporations that people own. We're shareholders. That's part of what makes America great. As those things grow and people have more money, you're going to see us able to sustain more money being able to go to Social Security and Medicare, and that's what's really important.
See, the basic issue that she brings up, though, that I want to address with you is somebody's worked all their life, and the person now gets Medicare, and they have to pay. Medicare generally covers 80%. You have to come up with the other 20% as a copay. People who are on Medicaid who have never worked, pay. They have no copays. They have no copay. They have no disincentive for seeking medical treatment. Now, that's a very interesting philosophical issue. Should people on Medicaid have some disincentive? Because there's the old story that if you need cough syrup and a person on Medicaid goes to the drugstore, they have to pay $5 for it. But if they get a Medicaid cab, go to the emergency room, get a prescription for it, they get it for nothing, even though the taxpayers are spending hundreds of dollars on that, because they have no disincentive to seek medical services. And that's the issue I think that she raises.
I agree.
I don't know what the answer is.
I just answered the question, but I'll answer it in another way. I'll answer it. This is part of the issue, is that so many people in our community have worked their entire lives to earn their Social Security and Medicare, and yet someone who doesn't work can pick up Medicaid and go to the doctor for free. They can get a 3D mammogram for free, and yet those of us that are middle class or middle income can't afford that. We don't get the highest quality. And the reason that we've gotten out of line is because Medicaid is a public health program designed for people who are truly needy. It is expanded beyond people who are truly needy. We need to refocus the money on people who are truly needy, people with special needs, people who are never going to be able to work to be able to care for themselves and pay for their own health care and pay for their own needs. So that's who it should be for. But now you're seeing Medicaid expanded in such a way, as I mentioned earlier in the segment when I first got on the air a long time ago, there are a lot of people who are able to work. They don't have any dependents, and they're not working because our Medicaid benefits are so generous that there's actually a disincentive for them to go to work. They get more money staying home than going to work. And when you've got a system like that, you're going to see less people entering the workforce. And when they're not in the workforce, they're not contributing to Social Security, they're not contributing to Medicare, and they're not helping pay for themselves in the long run. So we've been trying to work on that. I was a member of the Social Services Committee, and it was a huge problem. I mean, the Democrats in New York City want to keep as many people dependent on Medicaid as they can, it seems. That's just what they seem to be talking about.
Claudia, I want to throw this out there quickly, because you have everything you talked about there is saying, well, we'll be strong on Social Security and we'll address the Medicaid issue, Medicare. You had Larry Kudlow, he's the White House Chief Economic Advisor. He made a comment recently, last month, at the Economic Club of New York, where he said the administration needs to address entitlement reform. And this was a quote from Larry Kudlow. "I don't want to be specific. I don't want to get ahead of our own budgeting, but we'll get there. But I agree, we have to be tougher on spending." And that, of course, was I think, perceived in a way to suggest that the Republicans have an agenda to try to cut Social Security and entitlements. And so are there voices within the Republican leadership that maybe view it a little differently than what you said there, in terms of maybe there do have to be some cuts along those lines?
I think what the Republican leadership recognizes, and I've talked with Paul Ryan, I've talked with these people. Nobody wants to see anyone on Social Security who has earned their Social Security or their Medicare continue to get less because of the inflation and not have raises. But the problem is you have all these people who are soaking the Medicare and Medicaid, or the Medicare and Social Security, who could work and should work.
So you mean
it's
Medicaid?
A crisis.
Medicaid.
Right. There are people on Medicaid, some who are truly needy and deserve. Medicaid is a program for the poor, and I support doing that. People who can't work, who can't care for themselves, we should take care of them. I think that's a mission that's part of not only our New York State Constitution. I think that they believe that. But when you talk about people who are able-bodied and able to go to work, who are more giving incentives to not go to work, you're going to have exactly what we have. We have so many people who have not worked who are benefiting from the system, just as the caller stated, and that's a problem. There's a chart that I did when I was a member of the Social Services Committee, and it shows that a single parent with 2 children now needs to go out into the workforce in order to equal the benefits they need, depending on where they are in the state, needs to earn between $47,000 and $53,000 a year to equal the benefits they're getting to stay home. And I see that as a problem. I was a single parent with 1 child.
That's $25 an hour.
That's a very
to make that amount of money.
What do we do? So I know.
Available.
Look, I always was concerned about my daycare and my child care. I was always, always, and every working parent is worried about that. How do I go to work? How do I care for my kids? We live in a different time.
How do you pay for it?
How do you pay for it? Exactly. Yeah. It was. There were days when my ex-husband and I used to go, should I work?
Mm-hmm.
Or should I stay home?
Right.
It's
2 or 3
expensive.
kids. What do you do
with daycare? And then imagine if you're a single parent who's also maybe has to pay child support, where our system is terribly skewed against in that way, as Mark knows. So what do? You have people that can't afford to live, so your option is to stay home, not to go to work. I think the system needs to be changed. We need to incentivize people to go to work. And that's one thing the president, interestingly, has tried to do. Come up with an apprenticeship program. Gradually get these people who want to care for their children in a position where their employer can afford to keep them at work, even if it's less time. They can take care of their children. They can get to work. And eventually, as their children go to school and they have more time, they can now go to a point where they can actually have a full-time job and be in the workplace. By giving them this cliff where they either you get your benefits or you don't or not. We want to be able to ease them into a situation where they're getting into work.
And Congresswoman Claudia Tenney joining us here on the Talk of the Town. That might be about it. We do have a final break here.
I gotta get back to work.
Yeah, your staff. I'm surprised they haven't texted Rocco and I.
They're listening though. They texted us.
Oh, they have. Why? They're saying tell her that she's got an event.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
All right, we'll wrap it up. 9:55 on the Talk of the Town. Claudia, thank you for spending the time with us this morning. Yeah, we got into a lot. I know we don't always have the opportunity to get into all the topics that we have laid out in front of us, but we did get into a lot this morning, and I'm sure we'll do it again as you join us each and every Wednesday here on the Talk of the Town.
Come in more often.
So, yeah.
And hopefully we'll have a debate.
We like it better when you're here.
We're going to try to work that out as well. As we're
I love
talking
debates, as you know.
your opponent.
And I've done 32 or 33 town halls, just for the record.
Okay. All right. Well, 9:55 on the Talk.
I noticed they're not talking about that anymore because guess what? They found out, she is doing town halls.
You're doing them. Well, we're going to find out more about that debate opportunity. We're working that out now with
I'm free. Let's go debate now.
All right. There's
Anthony,
a call.
if you're listening, come on down.
Challenge is out there.
Sounds like the Price is Right.
Stay tuned, folks.
When the check engine light comes on in your car,